Financial Planning Association of Orange County is pleased to present to you the third of 4 webinars that we're doing. This one is on the essentials of financial literacy. I'm pleased to be joined by Janet Larsen, who's a CFP in Seal Beach, and I'm located in Los Alamitos. And again, I mentioned this is 3 of 4 seminars. We did the first one on goals and budgeting, the second one on building credit and managing debt. Here's our third one on the essentials of financial literacy. And we hope you'll join us for next week when we are going to be doing the basics of home ownership and how and protecting your assets. So owning a home is a really big step, and you definitely want to think about how you protect your assets as a part of that. So let's get going. I'm going to do the first part of this, and let's define our terms. What is financial literacy? You know, it is possessing the knowledge, the skills, and the tools needed to make informed financial decisions, to manage your financial resources effectively, and to confidently take actions to achieve your financial goals. Now, what is this presentation not? This presentation is not a lot of things. We may be talking about taxes, but this presentation is not giving you specific tax advice. We may talk about legal issues, but of course our attorneys want you to know we're not giving specific legal advice. We want you for taxes to consult your CPA or enrolled agent, for legal issues to consult your own attorney. And of course, we are talking about investments, but it's not specific advice for you. If you're going to need specific advice about investments, we certainly hope that you consult a certified financial planner practitioner. Okay, so now that we've made the attorneys happy, let's go to our next slide. So let's talk about our objectives today. We want you to learn what to do before you invest, because there are actually some steps you need to take to prepare. We want you to learn the importance of saving and investing. We want you to learn the building blocks of investing, which include the type of accounts, the type of investments, the risk-reward relationship, and diversification and portfolio allocations. So here is one of our favorite things, which is the pyramid of financial wisdom. So let's talk about where we start with this pyramid. With this pyramid, we start by creating a spending plan, paying off consumer debt, because please, I do not want people to make Visa and MasterCard rich. It makes me crazy. They get double-digit interest. That's absurd. And we want you to create an emergency fund. And we're going to be talking about that in just a second. So you have to have a spending plan, because if you don't know where you're going, you might wind up somewhere else. We also want you to have SMART goals. You've got to know where you're going. These goals are specific, they are measurable, they're attainable, right? They're attainable, they're relevant, and they're timely. We like to say that there are 2 things essential to a financial goal, and that is a dollar amount and a time frame. And I have to tell you that time frame is going to be very, very important, because once you're ready to invest, you are going to apply investments to the time frame. And there's some investments that you put according to a time frame that you might apply for long-term investing that you would never apply for the short term. So that is why you need to put a time frame to whatever your goals are, in addition to a dollar amount. 2 things, I put that on my final exam for my students, so where I teach for financial planning. All right, so let's dig into this concept of an emergency fund. Exactly what is an emergency fund? Well, it is 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses, needs. This is what you need. You see the umbrella, it keeps a roof over your head. It takes care of you in case of sickness or illness. It protects you against a loss, an unexpected loss of income, or unexpected expenses. I don't like surprises when it comes to my money, and I'm sure you don't like surprises either. So what this does is it allows you to stay where you are, living where you are, keeping up with your bills without the use of expensive credit. Remember, I don't want you to make Visa and MasterCard rich. It makes me crazy. And where would you put this money? You would put it in an FDIC insured account. Now, FDIC is for a bank. You might have a credit union. Credit unions are great. You want to look for that NCUA insurance, National Credit Union Association. And this is where if you put in $1 and something happens to that institution, you're going to get back your $1. And I like this because an emergency fund gives you peace of mind. Now, a typical savings account that you go when you go directly to a bank or credit union these days is probably not going to pay a lot, right? It breaks my heart, but I think my credit union pays me 0.01% on my money. Ugh. Now, I could go online and open up an online savings account, and you might find those at nerdwallet.com or bankrate.com. Those are probably going to pay a little bit more because they don't have to have the building that you go visit, right? So as of February, one of those online savings accounts, Ally Bank, was paying 0.50% on your money. Not thrilling, but many percent more than what you would be getting at your home credit union or bank. So I want you to think about that. All right, now we've just been digging into emergency fund. Let's take a look at which of the following is a good reason to spend emergency funds. We're going to have a little vote here. Now, number one, is it when you want to take a much needed vacation? Number two, is it when you need the down payment for a home purchase? Number three, somebody offers you the opportunity to invest in the deal of the century. Number four, you need to pay for unexpected auto repairs. Or number five, all of the above. Well, let's do a little poll. Okay, so we're looking for you to answer here. You're looking at the questions. You can see that they're the same ones that I put in, and I'm seeing that people are answering. I'm glad to see that you're answering these questions. This is really good. Let's take a look at how many people are going to answer the questions. It looks like we're getting, now take a look at these questions and tell us what you think. We want your opinion on which is the right reason, which is the following is a good reason to spend your emergency funds. Let's take a look at this. I'm looking for all of you to respond. Wish I could offer a prize, but I really enjoy the fact that you're all responding to this. Give me an answer to the poll that you see on the screen. Let's take a look. Okay, what do we see? We see that if you take a look at the results, the majority of people, 6 of you said you need to pay for unexpected auto repairs. Ding, 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 that's exactly it. That's emergency fund. So that's exactly why you need to pick the money out of an emergency is unexpected auto repairs falls into that category of unexpected expenses. That's exactly why we're doing this. Okay, so let's get out of this one. And did I share the results? Yes, I did. Okay, good. And so let's take a look at the next issue. All right. Now, why do we invest? Why bother? Well, there are only 2 ways to make money. The first one is to work and make some money. And I think we all know about that. But the second one, which I like even better, is to have your money work for you. How cool would that be? The benefit of doing this, at least 2 benefits. First of all, your money keeps pace with or beats inflation, and you get to save for retirement. Now let's think about this. You know, inflation is when your spending power, increase in prices goes up, but your spending power goes down. I like to think about it as if, you know, I go in to see my boss. I know that I've got 2% inflation that I'm dealing with. I'm going in for my review or evaluation, and the boss says, you know, you've done a great job. We're giving you a raise. We're giving you a 1% raise. And you're thinking they're doing the calculations, and you're like, well, inflation is 2%. I'm not ahead. If I get a 1% raise and inflation is at 2%, I'm not getting a real raise. And we call that a real return on your money. You're not getting a real raise. You're not getting a real return on your money. And we need investments to beat inflation and give us a real rate of return on our money. That's what we care about. You know, we talk about inflation as if it's a something out there, but it can actually erode your buying power. Do you know at just 2% or 3% a year of inflation, that $1 today would have the buying power of only 60 cents in about 20 years? You know, that's not what you want to have happen with your money. You want your money to keep up with and beat inflation. And the truth is that we also need to save for retirement, because for the majority of people, Social Security is not going to replace your pay. Social Security was designed to be a safety net to cover about 20 to 30% of your expenses. So let's talk about investing in more detail. What is the real true wonder of the world when we talk about investing? We talk about the power of compounding. Albert Einstein actually called this the eighth wonder of the world. He said that he who understands it earns it, he who doesn't pays it. Now, remember that interest rate that you could be paying to Visa and MasterCard? They understand the power of compounding. I don't want you to help them with their power of compounding. What compounding does is it generates a return on your investment plus all of the prior year's additional earnings. You take those earnings that you made in prior years, you add them to your existing earnings so that, I like to say, your babies are making babies. The Fernandez family has one of those great family photos, and your family may have it as well, where the grandparents are standing up here and then all of their children are right in front of them, and then all the grandchildren are in front of them. I love that picture, but I have to say that as a financial advisor, every time I look at it, I say to myself, well, there's the power of compounding. So we need two things for the power of compounding to work for us. We need reinvestment of our earnings, and we need time. So let's think about this: the reinvestment of our earnings and time. This is where time is on your side. Young people, if you're sitting around saying, wow, I've missed the boat, I don't get to be a part of this party, oh no, you are the lucky people. So what we know is that if you start early, your money and your earnings and the compounding is going to work for you. So here's an example of where we have $500 a month that you're saving, and you're saving it every month for a period of time. Now, in this case, the chart says 40 years. And we see on the graph that there is a line where how much would your money be worth if you were earning and compounding at 2% a year, or if your investments were earning and compounding at 4% a year, or finally at 6% a year. Well, let's take a look at this. If you contributed that $6,000 annually, that $500 a month, to a Roth IRA, which is a type of retirement account where you do not pay taxes on the earnings. You have to be 59 and a half, the account has to be open for 5 years, but imagine tax-free withdrawals of all of your earnings and growth. At 4% a year, your retirement savings would grow to almost $600,000. You can see that on the chart. You would have contributed $240,000. So the remainder of that, about $353,000, is the growth, all due to the wonders of time and compounding. It's just awesome. But if you had invested at 6% a year, you can see from the chart that your savings would grow to almost $1 million. Who would turn down $1 million? That means you've got your base investment of $240,000. You have all the earnings and compounding on top of that accumulates to about $744,000. Who would not want that? Time and compounding. This is the wonderful, wonderful part of investing. And this is the lesson that we need to remember and need to put to work in our own investment portfolios. And what's our goal? Well, let's say retirement savings is your goal. And let's assume this is the kind of thing that CFP practitioners do all the time. Client comes to us, let's assume that the client has $50,000 annual gross income and a goal of retiring at 67. You see where we have a dollar amount and a time frame? Well, but wait, what is that dollar amount? Well, it turns out that because this client has done really a good job of their budgeting and spending projections, that they know that in retirement, they're only going to need $40,000 of that. They need 80% of that pre-retirement income to maintain their lifestyle. Certainly, they're not putting money away for Medicare. They're not paying Social Security taxes. They're not putting money in their 401k anymore. And then we look around and we see, well, what sources of income do we have? Are they independently wealthy? Well, no, they're not, but they are going to get Social Security. Now, in this case, we gave an example of Social Security being about $18,000 a year. $18,000 a year happens to be the average Social Security benefit. Now, this is based on earnings of about $35,184 a year. And Social Security calls this average indexed monthly earnings. And they grab the 35 years of your highest earnings. So this is really important. I just had a client come in the other day who wanted to retire at 50. Well, the good news is she's making a lot of good money right now. But if she doesn't start Social Security and she stops work at 50 and doesn't start until 67, she has 17 years where she's not paying into Social Security. So she needs to really make sure that those early years where she's paying into Social Security are high earning years. And we need to remember that's what is on that Social Security benefits estimate statement may not account for the fact that you intend to retire early. So if you've got that interest, keep in mind that you're going to have to do some of those that analysis and calculations. So if my client expects to need only $40,000 a year of pre-retirement income, 80% to maintain their lifestyle, and they're going to have $18,000 from Social Security, then we know, doing the math, that we're going to have to come up with $22,000 additional funds every year that we're going to look to our savings to give us that. Now, let me make a stop here and talk a little bit about Social Security. Social Security could be taxable for you. Now, the good news is here in California, California does not tax Social Security earnings, Social Security, which is really nice, but 13 other states in the United States do. So at what point is your Social Security taxable? Well, if you are a single filer for your tax return, none of your Social Security is taxable if your income is less than $25,000 a year as a single person, or $32,000 a year if you're married filing jointly. However, Uncle Sam will take 50% of that Social Security and throw it onto the pile of your regular earnings, of your regular income, to consider it a taxable income if, as a single person, your annual income is somewhere between 25, your taxable income is somewhere between 25 and 34% single as a single filer, or 32,000 to 44,000 married filing jointly. And finally, 85% of it is going to be considered taxable, which means 15% is tax-free, but 85% of it is going to be considered taxable if, as a single person, your income is more than 34,000, and married filing jointly, it's more than 44,000. And income for this purpose is your adjusted gross income and non-taxable income, plus, in the one case, up to 50% of your Social Security. Now, those of you who are familiar with SSI, that is never taxable. And we've got age 67 here because that's considered your full retirement age for Social Security if you were born at 1960 or later. That age might be different for an older person, but if you were born 1960 or later, then your full retirement age, kind of that sweet spot on Social Security, is age 67. So here we are, we've got a goal. We need to come up with that $22,000 of spending for our client who's about to retire. And we're going to use that 4% rate of return again. So let's take a look at how much. Let's back into this goal and figure out what monthly savings amount we need to have based on the rate of return and based on time, because we're looking at time and we're looking at reinvested earnings. So good news, if you have 40 years You only need $325 a month to make this goal. This is why we all say, oh my gosh, the younger you start, the better. Because, oh my gosh, $325 a month seems very doable when you compare it to the other requirements. Because if you don't get started except 30 years before the goal, now you have to put away $553 a month. And if you only have 20 years, you lived your life, you were busy, you started a family, you had bought a house, you had things to do, but you said 20 years out from your goal, well, I better get cracking on this. Now the monthly dollar amount is $1,047. Well, it would have been nicer if your person who was so young 40 years ago had started at an early age and started saving for your old age. It looks a lot easier to do. So, oh, look, we've got another poll. So, which of the following best describes investing? Number one, it's like going to Las Vegas, a game of chance. Is it number two, risking other people's money to turn a profit? Number three, could it be the use of assets with the goal of earning income or profit? Or number four, well, is that only available to those with a lot of money, those people in that special club? Let's take a look at what you think. Let's take a look at a poll on this. So I'm interested in your answers on this. What do you think? Yeah, pretty quickly now, pretty quickly. Yep, I see it happening. I see it happening. Good. I think we're looking at a big agreement here. So which of the following best describes investing? Ding, 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 you get an A. The use of assets with a goal of earning an income or profit. That's exactly why we want to invest money. And you know, I love earning income or a profit on my money. And I love the fact that Janet Larsen is here because she's going to take over from here and she is going to tell us how to do this. So I'm going to stop sharing.